All right, hey y'all, what's going on? I am Carla and Lawrence, the Trailblazer, as you already know, and your host of Woman Heal podcast. As you know, we have been having very enlightening conversations. We are now episode 111, I believe it is 111, our 111th episode. We last week we had Dr. Tama Bryant. This week we have a very special guest, y'all. I'm so excited because, to my surprise, honey. He is so chill and so laid back where I felt like I'm like, okay, I'm overdoing it. Let me calm down. But I'm so excited. Y'all know how I am. I love to have conversations with people who can stimulate your brain, stimulate, have you, because when I first came across him, I was like, but I kept listening. And I was like, he right. So I love listening to people that can cause you that can challenge your beliefs, that can um cause you to look at things a different way and be more open-minded. So let's get into it. Today's guest is a theologian, a truth teller, and he's also the author of Breaking All the Rules. He is the founder of the Holy Smokes movement and one of the boldest and most thoughtful voices in the space of faith and deconstruction. Y'all help me welcome Kristian A. Smith to the Woman Heal podcast.
Hey, I feel like we need like a round of applause or something like that, you know?
Y'all see how calm he is? Y'all know Christian is not like this on the internet, right? You catch Holy Smokes, he is not this calm. What's going on? You ain't had your coffee today, Christian? Christian said, I'm
Nah,
usually chill.
I promise you I'll be chill. I promise you, like, sound bites and stuff. And a lot of times I'm talking about something I'm really passionate about or I'm upset about something. So it comes through in my presentation. But like just throughout the day, I'm a
Yeah.
really chill, laid back individual. Like
It's
I don't even like really care for all of the attention that I get.
I,
Like like people see me in the street and they'll be like, I know you. I know you from somewhere. I'll be like, really? That's wild.
you acting surprised
I act
with this.
surprised. Like if you can't identify where you know me from, I am not gonna help you. I was like,
Listen, well,
who
let me tell
knows?
you how I first came across you. The video that captured my attention was you were doing a video on Instagram and you were talking about, like, I guess how because of your advocacy for LGBT, I'm LGBT, my husband is trans. And so that caught my attention. You was like, people think, because I'm paraphrasing, this is not how you said it, but you was like, I guess you was getting a lot of slack, like people trying to call you gay because of your advocacy. And like, even in that, you never said, I got a wife. It's like, where did you get this no nonsense, like feeling like I ain't got to prove I say what I say? Have you always been like that? Like, was little Christian like big Christian? Or is it something you had to grow and evolve into?
I think it was a little bit of both. You know, my father was very similar in the way he moved through the world. Like
Hmm.
a lot of people pegged him for arrogant.
Mm,
He was just confident in himself and he wasn't trying to prove anything to anybody.
hmm.
So but I knew him in a way that not everybody did. So I'm like, why
Hmm.
people think that about my dad? That's not who he is in any way. And then I grew up and it kind of happened with me too, right? So I'm comfortable with who I am. I mean, that's what I teach. I built my whole ministry around the concept of self-love. Like self-love is at the core of the gospel. So when I am moving throughout the world, I'm thinking about how I view myself and being
Hmm.
secure and confident in myself. So I'm not trying to prove to anybody what my sexuality is, because that ain't nobody's business anyway, right? And people only go after my sexuality to make my advocacy more digestible.
That's what you
Because,
said. That's what you said
yeah,
in that clip. You said if I was a gay guy, it would be easier for
yeah,
you
it'd
to
be easier.
digest. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because then it would appear to be self-serving, and you'd be able to make sense of it. But this dude talking like this on behalf of people in a community separate from him. But for me, queer people aren't separate from me. Like black LGBTQ plus people are black people, and I love black people.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to separate my Q plus sibs from my heterosexual and cisgender sibs. Like we all in the same community. And I just believe that we have to reimagine some of these social categories that we've created to measure people's worth.
Hmm. Where did that advocacy derive from? Like of because there it's not a I mean you talk about because you don't win it, even though you was like, this is bigger than Jackie Hill, Perry. Like you be like you don't mind combating and when I first saw you, I was like, ooh, like just different videos. But I love people that make me go, ooh, because I'm still deconstructing,
Yeah,
decolonizing. You know what I'm saying? Because I battled with that thing forever. I've been with my spouse 10 years, but the first 5 years was hell because I struggled being with at that time, Cherie, and now he's Sean. And so
yeah,
it just spoke to me, and I think I have some clarity because I feel like you're authentic like me. I have some clarity for this excitement that I feel. The excitement that I feel right now is an assurance that I am sharing space with someone who gets it. Like I'm
mm,
not always you get like to the point like I feel a little teary-eyed. Like that's what I'm feeling
mm,
because whenever you like you make us or you made me feel seen and understood, I'm like he gets it. And so I appreciate that about you. You know what I'm saying? Because you talk about a lot of stuff. I was just watching your interview with Jamal Bryant, and you was like, "Yeah, we cuss, we gonna smoke cigars, we go." And Jamal was trying to. I can
yeah.
appreciate both of it. Like I feel like whether we agree disagree is the fact that we have two men who are well studied sharing space and they have some differences of opinion but it was still all love. To me, that's the height of emotional intelligence. What you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. That was a great conversation. I think it gave me an opportunity to share some of my perspectives for a crowd that otherwise wouldn't see it and
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was sitting across from Jamal Bryant, they were like, "Well, let me at least see what he's talking about." And some people walked away from that and felt like I was the Antichrist, and some people walked away from it like maybe I should look a little bit further into this guy. It just comes with the territory. I mean, for me, my advocacy just goes back to my basic theological framework. Like I went to seminary coming out of the National Baptist tradition where the National Baptist convention is just like the Southern Baptist convention in blackface.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Southern Baptist convention was created around the time of the Civil War over the issue of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the Baptists split. The Southern Baptists created a convention because they wanted to uphold slavery, right? So when the National Baptist Convention comes along, it has all of the same theology, minus the overt racism. The National Baptist Convention is just as homophobic, just as misogynistic, just as rigid, and just as invested in binary thinking as Southern Baptist. So that's what I came from, even though my father was a disruptor within that space.
Mm-hmm.
So he got put out of the state convention back in the late 80s, early 90s for ordaining women to preach because the National Baptist Convention just had a woman preach for an event for the first time in its history, like in 2024. So
That's
like
crazy.
that's how deep the misogyny runs. So like when I went to seminary, I went into a space where I was surrounded by different people who thought differently and believed differently than me. And I allowed myself to be challenged by these people. I allowed myself to open up to what they were saying and do some studying for myself. And one of the things about my upbringing that my parents always stressed was like treat people right. I don't care if you believe like them, like treat people right. I don't care where they come from, what they look like, treat people right. And we had, deficiencies in our belief system, but at the core, I was like, all right, then I just need to treat people right. And in
Mm-hmm.
seminary, I learned that my embedded theology was not treating some people right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I can't do this anymore because
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to treat people right. And my theology is causing harm to people. So, how can I practice a theology that does not cause harm to people, especially people that look like me?
All I can do is this right here, Christian. I don't even know if you know what that means. That's like clock that T, you own it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
yeah.
that you were just at Reformation, right, with Larry Reed. We both from
Yeah.
North Carolina. I love it. I love Larry. And when I saw you there, I said, "Oh, this about to be powerful." Like, because let me be honest. Like, I started my what I now know to be deconstructing. I had never heard that word before, Christian. I
Yeah.
until I heard Larry Reed started talking about, I was like, deconstructing, decolonizing, like, what is that? And then I heard you start talking, I was like, what is that? I didn't realize I started that in 2019, 2020 with this whole religious thing, this whole, you know what I mean? Like that whole, because
Yeah.
I was out there in that space, traveling, speaking, all of that. But then it was such a big part of me that I didn't share because I knew it was, you know how it is, it got the do, but don't, you, what is it? Say, do, but don't. What is it? How you say it? Like, it's like
Do
you
as
can
I say,
do it.
not as I do.
No, kind of like if as long as you can see it, but as long as I don't say it, like you can see that I'm same gender loving, but as long as I don't say it, you
Oh, don't
understand?
ask,
So
don't tell.
you understand? Like, don't ask, don't tell, like that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
the level of liberation and freedom that I walk in now, so I never had a name for that. I
Yeah.
just knew like it's lonely on this side. Like,
Hmm.
because God will always kind of like put me, he will protect me from certain things. So when the pandemic came and everybody else churches were shutting down, I wasn't distraught because I hadn't been in church at that time for like a year. I hadn't been in church for a while. And
Yeah.
even now, when I tell someone like, yeah, I don't do organized religion, because I was a licensed minister in that space, they immediately start thinking we reprobate mind, we all into the, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you it's
Hmm.
it's like so much, and I'm grateful for people like you who have the bandwidth to have those type of conversations with these people because it can definitely be a lot. You already shared, you went into my first question, which was about faith and you growing up. You already did that. So what was the turning point where you began to see the cracks in the theology that you were taught? Was it this didn't feel like love, that whole foundational piece from your parents? Is that when you started realizing like, this
So
ain't
seminary really did it. The seminary took me out of my theological echo chamber where the same messages weren't just bouncing off of the wall everywhere I turned.
mm-hmm.
And so my first day in seminary, one of the professors in orientation said to every new student at the same time, she said, I want to tell y'all this before we even get started. The Bible is not the word of God. And it was like, clutches pearls, right?
Not clutches pearls.
Yeah. Cause it's like, it's like, but that's all I've ever been told. I've
Mm-hmm.
never been exposed to anything other than the Bible is the word of God. So day one in seminary, this person who was learned and trained, like formally trained at a doctorate level, is telling me the Bible isn't the word of God. So it's like, okay, let me push forward to see what they mean by this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I trust that these people are serious about what they're doing. Let me see what they mean. And then that was an invitation to get in and start applying my critical thought to my faith in ways that I never had.
Mm.
No one had ever told me to think critically about my theology. We are taught to accept and embrace our theology. And then we are taught to regurgitate that theology. And preaching in many traditions is just creative regurgitation. There is no reimagination. It's just tell us what we want to hear in a way that gets us excited, but don't
Mm-hmm.
make us actually think about it.
Have to think.
But yeah, in seminary, I started thinking, and in particular, learning about Old Testament, learning about church history. Those were my first two courses that really got me going. And then there was an interaction I had with my classmates where my homophobia slipped out
Uh-oh. What happened?
because I was in a don't ask, don't tell environment growing up. I never heard sermons from the pulpit preached against queer people. That's not something that my dad did. Yet we had that unspoken agreement that it was like don't ask, don't tell. So even if we embrace or should I say accept Q plus people in the space, we don't affirm their
Mhm.
sexuality.
Mhm.
Well, one day I was in class and I think I was having a side conversation with a couple of my classmates, and I just casually was like, "Yeah, that's wrong." Like talking about homosexuality. I was like, "Yeah, that's wrong." I didn't think anything of it,
Mhm.
but my classmates had kind of made the assumption that I was more evolved in my views based on their interactions with me, and they
Mhm.
were like, "What?" And I said, "What? What? Did I say something?" Because there wasn't anybody in my space growing up that challenged that notion.
Mhm.
There were same gender loving people all around us, but none of them openly challenged the notion that their
Mhm.
sexuality was a sin. So I never had any reason to question it until that moment. And then
Mm.
like once I
And then.
started working through that, the what sealed the deal for me is when I considered being told that sexuality was a choice. And then I had to be introspective about my own sexuality. That's how I got here. Introspection. I
Mhm.
said, okay, Christian, did you choose your sexuality? Like, did you feel like you had a choice
Mhm.
about what you're attracted to and the type of people that you love? And I realized in that moment, no, I didn't have a choice. My sexuality is not a choice, it is a discovery.
Come on, Christian. Say it again.
My sexuality is not a choice, it is a
It's a
discovery.
discovery.
So once I realized that, I was like, well, if it's a discovery for me, why am I saying it's a choice for same gender loving people? And if my sexuality is as enduring for me as it is for me, that's got to be torture to tell somebody they can't live out their sexual orientation because your religion says so. And at that
Mhm.
moment, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot continue to preach this kind of theology that fractures people from their own humanity
Mhm.
because I realized how much my sexuality was a part of my humanity.
Mhm.
And if I'm going to love my neighbor as myself, then I want to give my neighbor the same freedom to express their sexuality as I have to express mine without causing harm to anybody.
Wow. So I want to make sure everybody is clear. So you were a PK or
Fifth
R,
generation.
huh?
Fifth.
Fifth generation PK. So just so people understand, he didn't just fall from the sky.
Nah,
And you know
nah.
what? And do you think that makes it harder for people to digest as well, like some of the thought-provoking conversations and things that you bring to our attention? Do you think that makes it a little hard? Because they're like, wait, he was on our side. Because people do look at it like us versus them.
Yeah.
You feel like, did you feel any of that from any of your counterparts or maybe people you've known over the years that were in ministry or are in ministry? How was that personally for you to take that stance to, you know, uh
Yeah, all the time.
yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, like what you were just talking about, Carla, about how when you started down this path, you didn't know what it was called, but you just felt real lonely.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's my ministry. I'm an anomaly. I don't really fit in anywhere, which is why I had to create the faith community because there was no church that I knew of that would embrace me as I am. This black Baptist, charismatic with a little Pentecostal flair, theologian, thinker, advocate for the marginalized, who speaks truth to power about inclusion, but will also dance and buck and speak in an unknown tongue if I feel like it. Like, where can I find a place where I can be that? It just didn't exist. So I feel like I had no choice but to create it if I wanted to see it in the world. So yeah, like there's a lot of pushback I get from everywhere because I don't just when it comes to picking sides, I pick the side of the oppressed
Hmm.
in whatever setting that is. So when I'm in a black church setting, I'm looking at who is oppressed
Hmm.
within the black church. When I'm looking at the United States as a whole, who is oppressed within the United States as a whole. When I'm looking at the world, who are the oppressed among us in the world? Because I believe that's where God is. God is among the oppressed. So when you're pushing back against oppression, the people who benefit from the system as it is will always have a problem with you.
Hmm.
So yeah, I get pushback from all different types of places.
That just touched something in my soul. I'm so off the script, and I think that's okay. Something that you said as far as like really understanding that space, because there's like a sense of calmness on me now. Like I'm like, okay, I'm in my flow now. Because initially, I think my like I don't have the language like you, Christian, so I just talk regular, okay, and then you can spice it up. But like within myself, it's like again that this person gets it because the challenge for me with community, like I guess the question is, how do you continue to serve a community that you feel dropped you? And let me tell you where this question derives from.
Hmm.
So for me, spending, years in ministry, doing my thing, prophesying, doing all this stuff, started my coaching business, doing all of those things. And the only thing now I will be honest, because this is whenever I'm having a conversation with a guest, it's for me first. Like
Hmm.
we just letting them listen in. So the complexity of my story that correlates with that question is okay, so initially, because this is a part of my story, I don't shy away from it. My first book I wrote, The Power in Waiting, I was convinced, oh, you're delivered from that. You're delivered from homosexuality. No, I was locked into church. All my daughter knew was church. When she got older, she didn't want to go. She's 22. She's like, because that's all we did,
Yeah.
right? But I was in such a what's the word? It was turmoil, internal turmoil. Like no matter when I was winning or it looked like I was winning, there was a part of me that still felt lost, right?
Hmm.
And so I was convinced, and I thought, okay, I am delivered from homosexuality. So I wrote this book wasn't even about that, it wasn't even about that, but in there I just put like I was delivered, da, da, da. So that's how I started. So when you say like my sexuality isn't a choice, it's a discovery, that's I had to give myself grace because
Hmm.
I was like, oh my, because I've been on that side where I'm helping people come out of that. And so that was like a intern. I had to talk about it. I had to put it out there because I feel like whatever you keep silent possesses power over you, right? So that's
Yeah.
the complexity. It was like, wait, you told us you was done. So that's the challenge. And then I just no longer shared. There was an update, but I didn't update nobody. My friend became my
Mm.
partner. But because in this, I'm still out here doing what I do, but privately I am discovering and I'm trying to reconcile this whole sexuality and spirituality, da 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 da. But once we made a decision to get married, I was like, that's it. So in 2021, I put out there like, this is who I am, this is who I love. Whatever chapter of my life you met me on, I have the right to change my mind. It was a discovery. I've written 13 books, just talking about different parts. So the reason why I asked that question is, and maybe I can handle whatever you give because this is us. It's like I felt like it was conflicting because I'm like, that's how I started. Like that's the start of my story, but this is where I am now. There was a liberation. And when I put it out there, who I was, who I love, etc. I had my mentor drop me of 7 years. I mean, it hurt, but it hurt, but it didn't like break me because I had already dealt with so much in private. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But then I
Hmm.
had people who like my speaking career, oh, it was over. I ain't been on a
Hmm.
plane in like 5, 6 years. That was hard for me to reconcile because I love people and I gave so much of myself. And I'm like, y'all just gonna drop me because I'm gay? So now I went from 13 years knowing my community. I know these people. I've been talking to them. I'm talking about Periscope days. I'm
Yeah.
talking to these people, but now my community is changing. It's like as people are unfollowing me, new people are following, and I got frustrated. I'm like, I don't want it because I know you was talking about when you can't find it, you got to create it. So it goes back to that question of how do you build community? Because I get a little, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, do I feel like doing this all over again? Build, and then I realize, is it really about the people or is it about my purpose? So I just want you
Mhm.
to speak to that.
It's tough. Like it's there's no way around that. Like if you're gonna do anything with people, I don't care if you're doing it in a fundamentalist space that is marked by rigidity, or you do it in a liberated space where people can be flexible and fluid, you're still dealing with people,
Hmm.
right? So building community, pastoring, whatever you feel called to do, if it involves bringing people together and navigating all of those relationships, it is going to be difficult. And yeah, people in a liberated space can turn on you the same way people in the rigid fundamentalist space can turn on you, because we're
Hmm.
still people at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of people who do all of this work to get out of fundamentalism, but they don't get the fundamentalism out of them. So they carry a lot of that, this rigid, everything is, about following certain rules and living up to a standard of purity and holiness. So you have to be, I feel like this is a calling,
Hmm.
that this is something you have to feel you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
Because if you don't feel like you're supposed to do it, you won't last at all, because there's so many other easier things you could be doing with your life and
That part.
probably make more money. Come on here. Like, cause I went through the same thing. When I started sharing my theological evolution publicly, my entire itinerary stopped.
Mm.
I had just preached at a church in Chicago, and I was already, speaking publicly about my theology, but they hadn't seen my social media platform. But they
Hmm.
invited me to preach. I did their youth Sunday. And when I got done preaching, the pastor said in front of everybody, moving forward, this is going to be Christian Smith Sunday at our church annually. This is his Sunday moving forward.
Wow.
That's the impression that I left on that congregation. And then when I left Chicago and they started following me on social media and they saw how inclusive I am, the pastor called me back and was like, "Yeah, we can go in a different direction." Right? That was just one example of the invitations that were dropped.
Hmm.
I had to start all over again. But I believed this is what I am supposed to do.
Hmm.
And when you believe that is what you're supposed to do, the pros ultimately outweigh the cons. But we all have to ask ourselves, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
Because this is not for the fainted heart at
It's
all.
not. It's
Mm.
not. And my vein is coaching, like
Mhm.
being a trauma informed life coach, and I'm in school for psychology to become a licensed therapist, so I can offer
Nice.
both services. Definitely want to do that. But it's that, and I tell my spouse that all the time. Like, you gotta be called to this work.
You
Like,
got to.
you have to. And I know that's. I was like, it's not a career for me. Coaching is not a career, it's a calling. Because I done quit a couple of times or tried to anyway.
Yeah. And then with the therapist piece, listen, I'm not cut out for that. I've done spiritual direction a few times, and like, I can do it if I need to, if somebody needs it, but it's not what I want to spend all of my time doing, because I'm not emotionally wired like that. Like
Yeah.
I had to learn empathy, so holding space for people is something that I can do. Um I'm just wired different. So that's not where I'm gonna spend most of my time.
But I feel like that's where you and your wife Pamela married, right?
Yes.
That's where
Yes.
y'all balance each other out. Matter of fact, let's talk about that. That was one of my questions too, as far as with you being the theologian and she the therapist. Like, what does love, life, marriage look like in your world with with these two callings that y'all have and y'all have combined them together?
Yeah, we have a lot of intense conversations around our passions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that really came to fruition when I was in seminary, because my wife, I also was raised in a holiness church, very strict, very rigid,
Me too.
very cultish.
Hmm.
So that experience for her made her want to learn more about religious trauma and actually become a practitioner in the space. So she's a religious trauma specialist. And during my time in seminary, I would come home with all of the stuff that I was learning and talk to her about it. And she had been deconstructing since she was 18, but of course didn't have a word for it.
Hmm.
And my seminary journey gave her the language for the stuff she had been thinking all of this time, but didn't know how to put into words. And then we would just kind of like bounce ideas off of each other. So, you know, we would talk about the theology of hell from a theological perspective. And then she would talk about how that creates anxiety and chronic stress from a
Hmm.
therapeutic perspective. So then that just made my theology even more informed because
Hmm.
now when I point out how damaging
You got a full scope.
hell theology can be, yeah, it's like because that type of theology causes anxiety and stress, which leads to all of these other issues that people
Hmm.
suffer with. And it is being compounded and worsened by our theology. So having Pamela be a part of my life to help me be more compassionate and more empathetic, and then having her be a part of my ministry to be more trauma informed has been invaluable.
Hmm. Now tell us about your book, Breaking All the Rules.
Yeah.
Like tell
Bre-
us a little bit about that. Like where did the first of all, where did the title derive from and what's some things that you're talking about in the book? I just saw it. I have to get that book by the way. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely got to get that. But tell us about that.
yeah, breaking all the rules is like part memoir, part theological research, part storytelling,
Hmm.
where I introduce greatest commandment theology as a framework that people can use to replace the rule keeping theology so many of us were taught to practice.
Hmm.
Um, so I challenge people in the book to consider replacing the question, well, what does the Bible say about that? With a new question, how does the greatest commandment apply here?
I like
And
that, Christian. Hmm.
yeah, thank you. I take that from an interaction that Jesus had with this attorney who was trying to catch him up in a lie. And, in Jesus's context, an attorney was someone who was skilled in theology and in theological law because that was the context. Like their law was tied to their theology. So he was asking him a question that he knew the answer to. He was trying to catch him up in a lie. Jesus responded to the attorney like, well, the greatest commandment is that you love God with your heart, soul, mind, and your strength. And the second part is like it, that you love your neighbor as yourself. And he
Hmm.
goes on to say, everything in the law and everything in the prophets hinges on these two: love God and
Hmm.
love neighbor as self. So he's saying that those two go together. You can't separate them.
Hmm.
It's it's not you got to love God first, and then once you figure that out, then love your neighbor as yourself. No, they go together. So love for God and love for neighbor as self are essentially the same thing. So
Hmm.
your love for God is expressed in how you love your neighbor, and your love for your neighbor is a reflection that you have for yourself. And if you do a word study of that particular passage, it reinforces what I'm saying, because when Jesus says love God and the second part is like it, that
Hmm.
word like in the Greek means of equal rank. So love for God is of equal rank with love for neighbor as self.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, for so many of us growing up, nobody ever taught us how important it was for us to love ourselves. If we were taught anything about self-love, we were taught to avoid it. We were taught to avoid something that Jesus says is critical to the gospel, but we were supposed to be like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
How? How can I be like Jesus if I don't love myself? When it was so critical to his message that Jesus did not command his followers to love themselves. He just assumed it. He commanded us love God with your heart, soul, mind, and your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So love for yourself is the basis for how you understand love for your neighbor. So love God and love your neighbor. That's the greatest commandment. Love yourself is the greatest assumption. And in breaking all the rules, I'm arguing that our relationship with the divine should not be tied to how many rules we can follow, but how
Come
well we
on.
can love.
Say that again, Christian.
Yeah, our relationship to divine should not be measured in how many rules we can follow, but how well we can love one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I spend my time in that book doing. And I'm actually writing a follow-up ebook to it right now with some of the stuff that I've learned over the past 5 years.
So where can we get Breaking All the Rules? Is it on Amazon? Is it on your website, christianasmith.com?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
Okay, so y'all heard that. Breaking All the Rules available on christianasmith.com as well as Amazon. Let's go a little deeper. You often say bad theology stunts emotional development. Can you unpack that?
Mm. Yeah,
You said it.
that goes into yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. That goes into the therapy and theology piece that um my wife and I do. And I think the best way to explain how harmful theology stunts emotional development is to talk about the concept of spiritual bypassing.
Mm,
So much of our theology is a practice in spiritual bypassing, where we use spirituality to avoid unpleasant feelings and emotions. So instead of dealing with the fact that we feel sad, our church tells us no, that's a spirit. If we're depressed, no, that's just a spirit. So instead of addressing the unpleasant emotion with the tools and resources at our disposal, we're told to just pray it away. You just need to get in your word. You just need to seek him. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these other things will be added unto you. Lean not into your own understanding. We're taught to bypass these real emotions that come with the human experience, and we're just told to slap spirituality on it. So that's why so many people who come from the rigid fundamentalist Christian church don't know how to identify their emotions. It's one of the reasons why in our digital community, every Monday in our Patreon, we do Mood Monday, where we look at a feelings chart together and ask everybody to identify where you are on this feelings chart. Where are you on this mood chart? And if you don't see the emotion that you're feeling on this chart, then add something in the comments to give people an opportunity to take an inventory of what they feel. Because so frequently we are taught to avoid those emotions and replace them with spirituality, which is, in essence, the practice of spiritual bypassing. And
mm,
all that does is it causes you to suppress your true emotions. And when you suppress them, they just have more control over you because they don't go away. They're still there, whether you acknowledge them or not. Just because you don't claim sadness doesn't mean you're not sad.
mhm,
Just because you don't claim grief doesn't mean you're not grieving. But
mhm,
our spirituality, our religion so frequently tells us to just deny it. Oh, I bind that. You can bind it all you want to. It still got a hold on you.
Mhm.
but we are taught so frequently that like mental health is over there. Like that's we don't do all of that. We trust in God. And my thing is trusting in God means also trusting the resources that God has given to us at our disposal. And
Mhm.
I believe mental and emotional health is one of those resources that that God has allowed us to develop as a species. And I think we should take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I loved all of that. And that's where I was when with the whole delivered and then no I'm not. It was a suppressed state.
Yeah.
You know, like in my book Journey to Finding Me, I think chapter 2 or chapter 1, I was like deliverance or suppression. Like I talk about it
Yeah.
because that's really what it was. And do you believe that for the things that you mentioned, like when we suppress grief or anxiety or sadness or depression, that actually derives into other things? Then
Oh,
can you talk
it
about
eats us.
that?
It
Mm-hmm.
eats us up from the inside out. Stress is one of the leading causes of physical illness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are indoctrinated to believe that it is your mission to suppress some part of your humanity, we've been talking about the sexuality piece. And I work with a lot of people in the Q plus community. Like that's another one of the pillars of our community, LGBTQ plus affirmation. If you've been taught that that part of your humanity is an abomination to God, and anytime you think or act on it, you are a disappointment to God. You don't deserve God's love and God's grace, and then you spend all of your time trying to suppress that, that causes a great amount of stress on your life
Mm-hmm.
that will affect you in other ways. So we have to, when we talk about theology and spirituality, it's important that we couple it with the real sciences, that we couple it with emotional health, physical health. We see it in the physical sciences and medical sciences how stress impacts our physical health. So there are a lot of people who are walking around sickly because they got harmful theology. There are a lot of people who are walking around with their hair falling out because they got harmful theology. There are a lot of people who have died prematurely because of their harmful theology. So we have to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to stop.
And I don't know, I was thinking about when the word deconstructing. Like when was your first time like learning like what that was, deconstructing and decolonizing? Because I know earlier you was like, yeah, I didn't know what it was either. Like when did you come into know that term and understand it?
Yeah, social media within like the past 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So deconstruction is what happens in seminaries every semester. It's not a new concept. It's
Mm-hmm.
not even a new term. Jacques Derrida is the French philosopher who coined the term in the mid 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
But it became much more of a movement in the Christian evangelical church, probably like in the 2010s or early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started sharing my theological evolution on the internet, that's when I started getting exposed to other people who were doing the same thing. And I saw white evangelicals, many of them who refer to themselves as ex-evangelicals, using the term deconstruction. So I started to just pay attention to what they were talking about. And I noticed in this conversation about deconstruction that not a lot of it represented my experience as a black church kid,
Mm-hmm.
because there's more to it for us than it is for a lot of our white counterparts, because our spirituality is much more ingrained in our bodies. Our spirituality isn't just up here in our head. It's not just memorizing verses and memorizing creeds and doctrine. We feel it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just something we have as like the black church. That's the African diaspora. Our spirituality is ingrained in us. So when I realized there was a lot missing from this conversation, I decided to become a voice for Black people in deconstruction. And not everybody, because there are some people who deconstruct and they have no desire to be involved with Black church or Black religiosity at all. And I honor that because everybody's path is different.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew there were some people who were going to want to hold on to the beauty of Black spirituality and Black church while ridding themselves of all of the harm that the theology has done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I kind of nestled myself as like, look, we can find some type of harmony where we don't have to throw everything out, but we do need to throw some of this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we got to throw out is assuming that everybody has to believe the same thing. So
Mm.
let the people that want to leave, let them leave. Like, wish them well. Like, encourage them to do what makes them come alive. Because we got to get out of the mindset that in order for my belief system to be valid, other people got to believe it with me.
Mm.
And that's just not the case.
Mm. Mm. I think this would be good for those who might have missed the whole situation. Like you were sharing a video on Instagram about a part of a message that Jackie Hill Perry said, and you were responding to it. And you was like, listen, people took it as you know, the internet is wild. Tyler Perry calls it the nigga net. Uh, you was like, wait. I don't know what the conversation was. Cause sometimes I'll look at the videos, but I won't look at the comments, like just to protect. You know, sometimes the comments can be good for further conversation, deeper thought, other perspectives. But then there are some things I'd be like, I just want to protect that. But I
Yeah.
don't know if people were like making it a Kristian A. Smith and Jackie Hill Perry thing. What was your point? What were you? What was the message? What was when you shared it and you were highlighting it and you was responding? What was the message that you were hoping that that our community would grasp?
I am a theologian. I think theologically. So I have a keen understanding of how our theology impacts our quality of life, how our theology impacts how we see ourselves, our self worth. So when I see theology being disseminated that works against our quality of life, that works against our self worth, I point that out for people who are attuned to my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, initially, when I started doing this on the internet, I was just teaching concepts. I wasn't a part of the social media cycle. I was just out here talking. Then, when I learned how to become a professional content creator and do this at a high level. And I invested my time, my money, my energy to educate myself on how to do this well. Then I started to understand the cycle of social media and how it's important to lend your voice to trending topics when you feel like you have something to add to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I would address what people in my digital audience were talking about. But initially, I wasn't interested in calling anybody's name
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not out here looking for enemies. I just want to help people get free. I
Mm-hmm.
want to help people think differently. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I have this video that's still circulating years later, right? It's called a 90-second rant. And I was talking about how conservative Black Christians demonize African spirituality. And I'm going to bring this back. I'm actually going to publish this post because at the time when I did the video, I was not calling the names of the people whose theology I was critiquing. I
Mm-hmm.
was just creating a counter narrative to run alongside what they were saying so people could see it could be another way.
Mm-hmm.
But that particular video was specifically in response to um, Tiffany Montgomery condemning people for going to see Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
It was very specific, but I didn't call her name. Now, as I continue to do that, I continue to meet people who my ministry had touched, and they were telling me how much they appreciated me and everything. And I would encounter people who were telling me how much they like me and how much they like people like Jackie Hill Perry and Tim Ross and Eric Mason and these people who I have fundamental disagreements with
Yeah,
theologically.
I was trying to
Yeah,
connect the dots. I was like,
exactly. Like I have
I mean,
fundamental
they're not really listening to you.
not really listening, right? So you're hearing what I'm saying, but you're not connecting it to the people who preach the theology that I'm speaking against.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I made the decision. Okay, now not only am I going to tell you what harmful theology looks like, I'm going to show you who's preaching it, and I'm going to show you how, so that you can
Mm-hmm.
clearly delineate between the two. Even if you decide, nah, Christian, I'm not rocking with you. I'm rocking with Jackie. Ooh, I at least want you to know that our theologies are different. I don't want you thinking that you can digest what both of us are teaching and apply what both of us are teaching, because we're teaching the exact opposite. And it's very important for people to understand that. So that's how I got into all of this calling people's names and, you
Yeah,
know,
when they come to Jackie, I just want Jackie to just go ahead and be free.
yeah,
Be happy, be and that was always my thing. Even when I was in that traditional space, I would see people like a Jackie Hill Perry or Sophia Ruffin, and I'm like, y'all still look like what you just feminine now, but you still look like a stud. You and your husband have no chemistry. It's like people think we can't see it.
yeah.
What about this, Christian? Because this happened. There's so many people, of course, ours, I'm gonna connect with what connects with my story, my journey, my experience. But there are people that's just not just closeted. Be like, for example, when I wrote my book Journey to Finding Me, right? That was really me talking about the whole journey of me and my spouse, and just that whole how I was able to reconcile some things. I had a past, even though it was about coming out, living my truth, coming into myself, that whole thing. I had a lady reach out to me, sent me an email, and was thanking me so much for writing the book. And she was like, because it gave her the courage to move forward in her calling as a pastor. She said she was so focused on what other people would say and what they would think, and she had so many against her. When she sent me that email, it shifted my perspective about the objective of my book. I thought it was only for closeted queer people who are
Mm,
struggling, but I learned like, nah, you can have your mess, and just like when you talk about decolonization, some for some people that might not decolonization, but what's the other word?
deconstruction.
Yeah, that deconstructing. For some, it might be deconstructing religion or Christianity, but for others, it might be deconstructing something else, but the same principles may apply, right?
Absolutely.
So the question I have for you is when what does the process like for those who are listening to us, who's going to see this, or whether they're listening in the headphones or they're watching us on YouTube? And hey y'all, by the way, hey. Um what does the process of deconstructing look like? Because we're big here, and I think that's one of the things that attracts me to your ministry is I like listening to people that's gonna make me research.
Hmm.
Like even
Hmm.
after this part, it's some stuff you said today that I didn't know what you were talking about. So I'm gonna go look that up. But
Yeah, yeah,
I like that because that's how the conversation should be. We should leave with something, you know what I mean? But when you are taking someone through a process, or do you take someone through a process, or within your ministry of deconstructing Christianity or deconstructing or decolonizing, like what does that actually look like? Like, are there some things that we should be doing? Because I'm still in the process. Even though it was 5, 6 years ago, I'm still because that church brain, like Larry Reed say, I can see it so, but I can see it so much clearer now. When that religious mind try to step in, I'll be like, wait a minute,
yeah,
But
yeah.
what is that for those that are listening and this may be their first time hearing decolonization, deconstructing? You broke down deconstructing. Maybe can you break down decolonizing as well? and then what that looks like, so they won't just hear the language, but they know what that really, how to walk that out.
Yeah, so I try to take that in like three parts. Explain deconstruction and then explain decolonization
And in the
and then
process.
explain how we do it. What's the process?
Yeah.
So with deconstruction, I have a friend who's a musician. I love music. I love musicians. And one of my dearest friends is a musician, and he was telling me about this Hammond B3 organ that he has in his basement studio.
Hmm.
And he's been playing the organ since he was a kid, so he knows how to make that thing sound how it needs to sound. But when he needs work done on the organ, he'll call a technician to come and open it up and see what's going wrong on the inside of it. And he said, Christian, sometimes I'll just sit there with the technician and ask him what different parts represent on the inside of the organ so I can have a better understanding of how all of this stuff works together to give me the sound that I play. And that's what deconstruction is. It is opening up the organ to look at the different parts on the inside and how they work together so you can understand when something is not working properly and you can fix that to make it work better. Deconstruction is finding out what I believe, why I believe it, and how it's serving me. And then how is it serving those that I love? That's all deconstruction is. It's asking questions. That's how the process starts for people. Unanswered questions. So that's deconstruction. Decolonization deals very specifically with how the, and I'm talking about religious decolonization, how the brand of Christianity that we inherited was created. A lot of people think Christianity is just one seamless religion that everybody practices the same way, but it's not Christianity, it's Christianities. It's multiple Christianities over the course of history. And we got a very specific form of Christianity that was created or curated in the name of European colonization. It was created as a tool of colonization to separate indigenous people from their indigenous spiritualities, separate them from their culture, separate them from their language. And then we were forced many times to assimilate to this brand of Christianity. So decolonization helps us to trace some of our bad theology back to the colonial project that started it. Right. So those are the two different things that are running concurrently. And there's a lot of overlap between those two, but they're still very different because some people deconstruct and they never consider how European colonization, the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow, lynching, Ku Klux Klan, they don't consider how all of that stuff plays into it. But it all plays into how we got the belief system that we got. When it comes to the process of actually doing that again, it just starts with asking the questions that you normally don't feel comfortable asking. And Bell Hooks, I got her book right back here, All About Love. She talks about how when the harm is done in community, the healing also happens in community. A lot of people are struggling in their deconstruction journey because they're doing it in isolation. And when you are wrestling with these questions, it helps to have some people to wrestle with, but not people who are working against you, people who are on the same journey as you, who have the same questions, so that when you get around people, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not by myself. I'm not the only person thinking this. Somebody else is struggling with this question too. Somebody else has always thought about this too. Somebody else has an answer to this that I never considered. Somebody else just asked me another question that's making me go even deeper. So being in community with other people who are on the same journey as I see it is a very significant part of a deconstruction and decolonization journey. I remember there was somebody in our community who joined and said in a post, they said, "I have learned and unlearned more in this community in 6 months than I learned in the prior 10 years of deconstructing by myself." So I encourage people to find community where you can do it.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to, and I know we're at our time. I just want you to talk about your Patreon because your Patreon sounds different than what these other Patreons out here. Like, can you paint a picture for like if I were to join Patreon today, like what am I gonna see? What I know you said Mondays, y'all do Mood Monday. Like,
Yeah. There's a whole world back behind there in Patreon. So what you see from us on the public facing platforms, you're going to get like short videos that are really generally like a appetizer for
mm,
what's happening in Patreon. So
gotcha.
I'm not one of those content creators that's just going live all the time for the general public. That's just not what I do. I reserve my live stream for my community, the people who are like really locked in, plugged in, and who are helping to support the work because there isn't a lot of like institutional money for ministries like mine. Like nobody's just throwing money to amplify this message.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that money is tied up in the fundamentalist spaces. That's where all of that money is. And how do I know? Because I used to be there, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
so I know. So we do like live streams, podcast recordings. We have daily content that we share. Sometimes it's like resources that we share because again you want to have a plethora of voices that are speaking to the same general concept, so we don't want people in our community only listening to me. So we share other voices that people can follow. We have a session that we do twice a year for 10 weeks called Day One, and if you're subscribed to Patreon, you just automatically get access to that session where we walk through breaking all the rules. And we do it in community as a conversation to really unpack some of our embedded theology
Mm-hmm.
and to really initiate that journey of deconstruction in a communal setting.
Mm-hmm.
We have other meetups throughout the month that are led by other people in the community. So we have a group called Black Women in African Spirituality. They get together quarterly online. We have a creative writing group. We have an LGBTQ plus group. Um,
It's really a whole community.
yeah. Yeah, we got a faith and film group that gets together every month to talk about a different movie and some of the faith implications. It's just a whole lot of stuff that we do back there that it's like a buffet. So it's too much stuff for any one person to try to participate in all of it.
Mm-hmm. You find
But
what's for you.
yeah. Yeah, you
So
find
is
what's for you.
this patreon.com/your name, Kristian A. Smith, or
Nah, TFC virtual, the faith community virtual. Yeah. TFC virtual.
okay, so y'all, that's patreon.com/TFC virtual. And we'll make sure we
Correct.
put that in the clip notes. So the last thing before I let you get on up out of here, you got to tell us like how can we support the work that you're doing? When I say we, those that are listening, people like me that feel connected to your ministry. Um, I'm very clear now. I know what all of that was. I'm coming over in Patreon. I'm definitely coming.
We'll
Yeah.
come.
Oh yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm it's time. I had to do like for me it was like even tell me if I'm using this right. I had to even go through a process of deconstructing mentorship.
Yeah.
Okay, I said it. Okay.
Yeah,
Cause
absolutely.
I had like this because I didn't realize it was attached to the whole religious thing of that covering, feeling like you needed
Yeah.
you understand. So I had it was just me and God, me God and my spouse for a minute, and I feel like now I'm in a place where it's like, okay, God, what's next? Who's what voice? What you know what I mean? And
Mm.
so anyway, um, patreon.com/TFC virtual, y'all. And then also christianasmith.com for his website to get Breaking All the Rules or wherever books are sold. I was asking you a question. It was about to
Yeah,
close.
you asked how people can support.
Thank you. How
Yeah.
can people support the
Yeah.
work that you're doing and what you have coming up? Like what's next? What you're working on? How can we get involved, support you, encourage all that?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We're always accepting contributions from people who want to see this message be amplified. Everything that we've done up to this point has been purely organic reach. So we haven't had a big marketing budget to amplify the message with ads or anything like that. So if you want to help us expand the message, you can support the faith community in a plethora of ways. Patreon is one way of doing it and getting more access to more of the content and the community that we have. You can give to us on Givelify, Cash App, PayPal. All of those options are available at thefaithcommunity.org. And then just some simple ways that don't involve money at all.
Mhm.
When you see our content online, watch it all the way to the end. Like, share, comment. That is how you curate your own algorithm
Mhm.
to ensure that you see more of the stuff that you want to see. And then it tells the algorithm, people really enjoy this content. Let's show it to more people.
Mhm.
So that's a way you can support that doesn't involve giving any money because not everybody has money to give. And
Mhm.
if you want to be a part of our community and you're like, I can't afford the Patreon subscription, we have a program called Pay It Forward where members of our community who do have extra actually contribute to sponsor other people who are experiencing financial hardship. So there really aren't any financial barriers,
Mhm.
excuse me, to
Mhm.
to engaging with what we do. Um, because we want everybody to have access to it that wants it. So
Mhm.
yeah, come hang out with us. We have a good time.
Awesome. Sure will. So ChristianASmith.com, y'all. He's also Christian A. Smith, the main hub. Christian A. I think it's the main hub. Is it the main hub? That's your main page is Christian
On
A. Smith
Instagram?
on Instagram.
Yeah,
And then they can
yeah.
get to everywhere. Oh, you gotta tell us about Holy Smokes movement. Tell us about that and how people can get involved.
Yeah, so it's the Holy Smoke Cigars and Spirituality. It's a ministry of the faith community, and it's actually our anchor programming. Our podcast is our anchor programming. So on Holy Smoke Cigars and Spirituality, we talk about life, faith, and theology. And sometimes we sipping on something, and sometimes we smoking on something, and sometimes we cuss a little bit. And then, depending on the topic, we might cuss a lot of bit. I don't know what's gonna happen. You just gotta show up. It's not safe for work, but it's real and it's
It's
educational.
not safe for work for me. Go ahead.
It's not. It's not.
You've
Listen,
been warned
do not do not turn on Holy Smokes
in your
on a
office.
loudspeaker in a public place because you never know what we gonna say. Because we talk about a lot of heavy topics. Theology can be heavy. Social
Mhm.
justice can be heavy. So we try to make it fun, even as we're learning and unlearning, because of how challenging it can be. So you can listen to the podcast on any of your major podcast platforms. You can watch episodes and clips of the podcast on the TFC virtual YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do a lot of like full length episodes and clips on YouTube, TFC virtual.
Awesome. So, do you have any closing thoughts for the people as we prepare to exit? What's on your mind, your heart?
Yeah. This is a lot, y'all. Be patient with yourself. I think sometimes, people will hear the how fluidly I speak about some of these things, but I've been immersed in this for 12 years. And I've been a church kid my whole life. So this is what I do professionally. I'm supposed to be able to talk about it in this way it's supposed to flow like that for me. And I also don't carry as much of the theological baggage and trauma that many of my siblings do. So, like, be patient with yourself. This is a journey, this is a process. You will take 2 steps forward and take 3 steps back. It happens like that sometimes. You're okay. You are okay. Sometimes you might have to take a break. Sometimes all of this deconstruction is too much, and you just like, you know what? Let me go to the church that I know is a little bit harmful, but it's gonna make me feel good today because it's gonna make me feel secure, like a warm blanket.
Yeah, I'm not
Sometimes you
doing
got to do
that.
that.
I'm not
Yeah,
doing that, Christian.
everybody not gonna do that, but I promise you, there
I ain't
are
going back.
people who definitely need that. So I just want everybody
I
to
got you.
have permission
Hmm.
to do what you need to do to take
For
care of
you.
yourself. Yeah, and it might not look the same for everybody. Like, me and Carla, we not going back to anybody's church to get that feel. But I have worked with a whole lot of people who along their journey, they went back a number of times just to like, ooh, okay, now I can push forward. So give yourself permission, give yourself grace.
That's true. And I will even say this to y'all, like, trust yourself. I think it goes back to that first and second commandment, like love God, love people. But you can't do that without loving you. Like, trust yourself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I'll never forget the ministry that almost took me out. I was gonna go back for a pass. This is what I'm saying. This deconstructing thing, it's been going on for a long time. I just didn't know. I didn't have the language. That's why I can't wait to talk to Pamela, your wife. But I feel like I'm starting another conversation and we ending, but I'm gonna just say this because we here. Okay. So I'm just me.
Go ahead
So
and say it.
we just having a conversation. What was I gonna say? The church that literally almost took me out, with the place, the things that I went through there. I was even gonna go back for the pastor's anniversary, um,
Yeah.
Christian. And
Yeah.
it's as if my spirit was like, once you get delivered from Egypt and you done tasted Eden, why are you trying to go back? What you going back for? And it's like I literally felt like I had clear instruction. Cause during that time I felt like I couldn't leave until I was released. Cause I learned a lot of valuable lessons. My leadership training, I didn't go to seminary, but that place right there,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, like on the job training, you know what I'm saying? And so I
Mm-hmm.
said that to say, like, even trusting yourself, like, y'all, like really trusting your inner voice, your intuition, the voice of God, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. Trust that. I know sometimes when we make mistakes or we have been, like you said, we haven't been affirmed and
Mm-hmm.
validated as we should, then a lot of times it becomes self-inflicted. But trust that little whisper to be like, nah, stay home and pray today. Or that little whisper to be like, nah, you need to get up and go. Whatever that looks like for you. And so I'm so appreciative of sharing space with you today, Christian.
Yeah, this has
Like,
been good.
you have no idea. I'm like, I can't wait to go downstairs and talk to my husband. Like, man, you heard that? You heard that? We gotta talk. Like, I know my excitement makes it be a lot. I love people. Like,
Yeah.
I get so excited to share. I'm home all day by myself. I work all day. I see everybody else. Even when I meet with my clients, I'll be like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" They be
Yeah.
like, "Coach T." So I'm just honored. Like, I'm not just reaching out to random people. I'm very intentional about the people that I'm reaching out to. And you didn't know me from a can of paint, and you said yes. So thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I
And
appreciate the invitation and all the kind words. I appreciate the energy. Yeah, I don't want you to like second guess your energy. Your energy is authentic, so I appreciate that. And I
thank
and
you.
I want you to continue to be authentic. If you authentically excited, then be excited.
Thank you. See, I'm even deconstructing that. That's my word now. I probably use it like all the time now. You know, how you first learn something, and you first gotta say you want to go save everybody. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
deconstruct that. But even deconstructing you too much, your personality too big. Like you hit something when you said I don't fit anywhere. I felt
Mm-mm.
like Christian, I thought something was wrong with me. Sometimes I still do. I'm like, I don't fit nowhere. Like
Mhm.
church, it happened in the marketplace, in ministry. I'm like, is it supposed to be like that? Because sometimes I be like, I don't want to lead. I want to be led. I've been leading a long time. I'm tired now. You
Mhm.
know, and
Mhm.
so I just appreciate sharing this space with you.
Well, thank you. I
I really
appreciate
do.
it as well.
All right, y'all. So listen, you've been tuning into Woman Heal Podcast. Remember, what happened to you may not be your fault, but healing is your responsibility. We learned two new words today: decolonization and deconstructing. Make sure you're using properly when you're using them. Check out ChristianASmith.com. Also follow him on Instagram and whatever platform, YouTube, that you utilize. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.